All right, welcome back to another episode of Run Mountain Peaks. It is a balmy 50 degrees right now, which is quite a pleasant surprise after the cold December that we've had. So, no hat, no gloves today, which is beautiful. I cannot wait until it's summer and these podcasts are just going to be a lot more comfortable. But what do we have today? Today, I'm going to go through my second 100-mile finish, the 2024 Hellbender 100. I'm going to do the full recap, the full story, what happened. This race, honestly, for sure, the most lessons learned in an ultra ever for me. I think it was the most pain I've ever had in an ultra for sure. And yeah, just the most like adversity in things that some things I didn't expect, maybe some things I did expect. So lots of learning lessons, and didn't go as well as I wanted it to in the moment, but I think I took away a lot from this race, and I think it still went fairly well. So we're gonna go through all those, talk about why I wanted to go down there. Takes place in Asheville, North Carolina. So made the trek down there. It was the first kind of destination race that I've done. So we'll do that story today. And then the first New England Ultra Marathon of the year of 2026, the TARC Yeti Trail Trot 50K. We're going to go through the results. That's formerly the Fat Ass 50K. Gills, GAC, yeah. Fat Ass 50K that now TARC has taken over. So we'll go through some of those results. And I think there's one other race that's it's a virtual race that's ongoing. So I won't, there's no results, but I'll talk about that at the end of the episode, because ideally for this year, at the end of every episode, for any race that we didn't talk about or like interview somebody from or something like that, I'm going to still go through all of the results from every New England Ultra and most of the mountain shorter trail races. I think obviously you can't do every sub ultra race just because there's so many like 5Ks, like local things that I probably just can't go by the radar. But I have a pretty good list of all the ultra marathons, so we're gonna recap that at the end of all the episodes this year. So we'll go through the Yeti Trail Trot, the first ultra of the year. Boom, done. And then last up, we're gonna go through my top 3 favorite fruits. And I think this is a good time of the year to do this because I love eating fruit, eat a lot of fruits. That's like such a big part of my diet. And in the winter, it's the worst of the fruit season. It's really just scraping through. If you can get a fresh fruit from the grocery store, you're pumped. But a lot of the fruits aren't super fresh right now. So I think it's a good time to do your top 3 fruits. It's like, you don't get me at my best if you don't like me at my worst, that kind of thing, right? Because any sort of fresh fruit, local fruit that you pick in the summer can be super, super good. It's like in the dog days of the fruit season, who's still in the top 3? So we're going to do that at the end. And that's all we got today. So first up, jumping into the Hellbender 100. The Hellbender 100. Like I said, it's a 100-mile race in Asheville, North Carolina. I think there were the Black Mountains out there. It's not on the AT, but it's on. It's in a good mix of trails. I think Asheville is a very trail runner community, and it's a cool place out there. And the course itself, I think after the storms from Asheville a couple years ago, I think they altered the course, so I'm pretty sure it's shorter now. It's a different route. But when I ran the original route, it was 104 miles and 24,000 feet of climbing. That were the stats on it. And the course director, when they kind of came up with this race, because it had only been run a handful of times before I went and ran it, they wanted to kind of model it after a hard rock, big climbs, up and down. And that's pretty much what it was. It was like 5 big climbs and big descents. So it wasn't kind of undulating up and down a lot. It was really just big mountain climbs. You go up, you go down. But I think the difference is obviously with the elevation ratio to miles, the climbs were just a lot less steep than around here and a lot more runnable, less rocky, less technical. It was a lot of just kind of like nice, smooth, single tracky, flowy, switchbacky trails. And so that was the race, the course. And the reason why I wanted to go down and do it, the year before I had finished the Jigger Johnson 100 mile, so I got the first buckle there, which is a 100-mile race, but it's in kind of like a different category. It's a lot of hiking, although all ultras are a lot of hiking and power walking and stuff. But that one is a lot of hiking. It's really drawn out longer than a lot of them, and I feel like this isn't one of the reasons for it, but like after you do like a Jigger Johnson or some of these Northeast ultras, and people ask you, like just regular people, non-runners, oh, like how long did it take, or how far did you go? It's like, all right, I went 112 miles or whatever it was, but you always got to say, but 30 whatever thousand feet of climbing or lots of super technical trails. Because like when I finished the Jigger Johnson 100, it was almost 39 hours, which is a good time on that course, but also, I feel like on a regular 100, that's a very slower time. Like that is probably past a lot of cutoffs. Like there are some 30-hour cutoffs for these races, 30, 32, 35, whatever. So it's like you don't really do it justice. So part of me was like, I wanted to get a more competitive time on 100. And the other part of me was I wanted to go to a little bit different of a race, like a more runnable, more competitive destination travel race to see how I did kind of traveling. Like I don't travel a lot in my regular life, so see how I liked it, see how I liked racing in a new spot. So it was very much putting me out of my comfort zone and seeing what I could do. And it was a very competitive race. There's been some competitive times on that race for sure. Some strong athletes have gone out. And the year that I had signed up, I had the list pull up here, there were a handful of really strong runners. So one of them, Kyle Curtin, professional runner, Tour de France, American record holder, top 10 Western States guy. He was going to run it. Marcus Welker, who was a local Asheville, I don't know how local he was, but a North Carolina guy. He had some really strong race times. I don't know if he had run Hellbender before, but he had run and maybe beat like a Tim Nooney, who is another North Carolina guy who I'm pretty sure is like sponsored or just an elite runner. Sean Pope, I'm pretty sure he used to be a sponsored pro runner potentially, or he did some of the back in the day. He was kind of like he's 35, but when he was younger, he was doing a bunch of those big races. He's really fast. This guy, Jake Moreau, he had won like 3 races going into this 300 milers. Lots of other strong names. Meg Landymore. I don't have all her results right now, but she won for the women's, and she is just a super strong athlete. There was this guy, Sondre Stier Thornbergson, which we will talk about him more. He ended up winning the race. He was from, I think, like Norway, so, sure, super strong endurance guy. So there were lots of strong runners, and I just kind of wanted to test myself. And I knew I had come from a big hiking background, so I knew I liked the technical stuff, liked the hiking, but I wanted to kind of progress as a runner more and do more running miles and get better at runnable, 8 to 10% grades. So that was the plan, and that's kind of how I trained going into it. Like, I want to not just be a strong hiker, I want to kind of become more of a runner. So that was the reasoning behind the race. And that like build up to the race, I was getting faster. I was doing more runnable stuff. Like I was doing a lot of low incline kind of workouts, hill work, but not super steep, no stair climber stuff. And got fit, was kind of increased my volume a little bit, but I felt really good. My fitness was as good as it had ever been. My shorter distance fitness, like some of the workouts and stuff I was doing, was the best it's ever been, like starting to get faster and faster. So I was feeling good going into it. I had a little bit of a hamstring. I remember going into it, which I think I was actually pretty concerned about. It wasn't a pull or anything, but I was just having problems with my hamstring cramping up almost a good amount during some training runs and kind of hurting randomly. Like it had kind of been bugging me. So I was like, I don't know how that's going to play out, but that was it. Besides that, I was not injured. So things were going good. So, and I had never been down there. I think I flew down like I had one day before the race. So I had never seen the course. I didn't run on the course at all. I was really kind of on-siting this race. So I ended up flying down there with my mother, and it was just us two. I didn't have any pacers lined up. It was kind of just a let's see, she was gonna crew me, and I'm just gonna go out there on site this course and run it and see how it goes. So that was the plan. So we get down there, travel day. This was kind of, closer to the COVID thing. Did I wear a mask on the plane? I don't know if I wore a mask on the plane, but I was kind of concerned with getting sick traveling a lot, but didn't get sick or anything like that. We had an Airbnb, all good. Went for a run the day before, and I go to the pre-race meeting. They hosted the night before because the race was a 4:30 a.m. start. 4:30, maybe 5, but it was an early start. So the race meeting was the night before. So go there the night before. What I remember from the race meeting, I remember a couple things. I remember, one, seeing this guy, Jake Moreau. He was a Canadian guy, like I said. He had won a few 100-mile races, like looked like a fast guy from Ultra Sign Up or whatever. And in person, this guy was an animal. He was huge. I think he was wearing this big belt buckle, maybe like a cowboy hat potentially. I might be making that up, but he was like, not in a bad way. He was ripped, but he must have been 200 pounds at least. Like, he was just an absolute unit. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this guy can crank miles. And maybe he had a David Goggins shirt on too. So I was like, all right, I think I know this guy is insane. Just probably next level tough. But I remember that being kind of blown away with that. And then the other thing I remember was we were all, in this, what is it called? A pavilion, maybe? Like one of those open structures with just a roof over it. And a bunch of chairs out there, and I sit in the chair. I think it was just me, and Kyle Curtin comes and sits right next to me. And I knew who I knew who he was. And so I was like, oh shit, okay, you gotta play it cool, pretend like you've been here. I didn't talk. I don't think I said a word to him. So, but those are the two things I remember from the course. Oh, and then the other thing from the pre-race meeting I remember was, and I knew that there were poisonous snakes down there, and this is something like I haven't thru hiked. I haven't done much trail running outside of New England, and I wouldn't say I have a snake phobia, but I don't mess with snakes. I don't know how they move around without legs. I don't like how they look. They're creepy. When I was younger, actually, I had a snake book. I loved the Crocodile Hunter, Steve Irwin. He would always catch the snakes, and I had a book. I knew all the snakes, and I would go in my backyard and I would catch snakes. But I got out of that phase clearly when I was younger, and at some point in my frontal cortex development, I no longer like snakes. They freak me out, and I think one of my biggest fears in life is waking up with a snake in my bed. So like a snake crawls through a pipe or something scares me. So yeah, snake. Yeah. So anyhow, in the pre-race meeting, they said, there's one place called Rattlesnake Rock or something where there's always rattlesnakes. Be safe because because whatever, you signed the waiver. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, they're saying something about this rock. So there's always snakes there. Like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't want to get lit up, which I know like rattlesnakes, they're the same as anything else, like a bear, like a moose, or like anything that's kind of scared that you would think would be scary. Like they just want to get away from you. They don't want anything to do with you. But it's like you're always like, whoa, what if it's raining? What if it's quiet? They don't hear me, and I step on it, it comes, boom, and that's it. I don't know, So I was a little conscious of the snakes, but that was the other thing I remember from the meeting, and that was pretty much it. So go back to the Airbnb, and I'm pretty sure this is the first race I did this. Yes, it was the first race. I always don't sleep a lot good before an ultra. I think you're very excited. You have to wake up early. your brain's going a lot. Can't, especially your first, when you're getting into it, you're like, I don't even know if I can do this. And so this time I was going to, or I had, oh, what's that stuff? The sleeping stuff, melatonin. I had melatonin, a bottle of melatonin, which I was like, I looked into, different sleep aids. Should you take it? Should you not take it? Half-life, whatever. And I decided that if I'm having trouble sleeping, let's just take melatonin and try to get a little bit of sleep. So, and I had taken it a few times in training runs and it had been fine. So I was like, all right, I think I can do it. But that night I try to do everything normally that I do, eat my thing, relax, chill out all day. I mean, the day before I'm just lying on the couch most of the day, just out of my, trying to get out there. But trying to relax, and I try to go to bed early, try to get at least a few hours of sleep. Because for me, if you can get just one REM cycle, 3 hours, you're probably good. You're good for a 24-hour effort for sure. You just need to feel a little bit rested. Get one. If you can get 2, beautiful. If you're somebody who can just sleep 6, 7, or 8 hours before a big race that you've been training for months, hats off to you. You're probably gonna run it better than poor sleep. But that was the plan going into it. And I remember I didn't take it at first and I couldn't fall asleep. It was hot in the Airbnb. I had the AC on. I wasn't feeling comfortable. Couldn't fall asleep. So finally I'm tossing and turning for a while. I'm like, I just got to take it. Ended up taking it. I took it and I legitimately think I just stayed up for 3 hours straight waiting to fall asleep. It didn't work. But I remember the effects on me. I was super lethargic, but I just couldn't get my brain to shut off. So I'm pretty sure I only ended up sleeping a half hour or 45 minutes, and I woke up in the morning. Usually if you're nervous about something, you sleep for a little bit, you wake up, you're like, "Oh, I actually feel kind of rested." I felt exhausted when I woke up from the 45 minutes of sleep or whatever, and I remember being like, "Oh crap. That is not a good sign." And I don't even think I remember telling my mom. I don't even think I told her. I didn't tell anyone that I didn't sleep good because I didn't want it to. I was just like, this is going to be my secret. I don't need sleep. I'm going to go out there and just whatever. So get up, get ready, feel okay, and get all my things and go to the start line. And at the start line, again, I remember I was obviously nervous, excited, but I remember being tired and thinking I don't know how this is going to work out. But it's so many people say that though, it's really hard, especially if you're tenting at a place, if you don't sleep super well, if races are early. This is not abnormal. I don't know, getting zero sleep or close to zero sleep is probably a little bit abnormal, but some people do it, and you can still totally run the race. My thought process in all of the races that I run, the sleep, you really don't. As for a 100-miler, I would say a 24 to 32 hour effort. Don't worry about sleep. Get some if you can. Some is great. A good amount is awesome. And if you get none, you're still gonna be okay. Once you get going, your adrenaline kicks in, you're running, your body snaps into it. It'll just be, you'll get a little bit tired, a little bit more hazy, a little mentally more foggy towards the end that you're just gonna have to deal with. But that was a sleep thing. But we go to the start line, and I remember my goal for the race was I wanted to go sub 24. If you went sub 24 hours at this race, because this is a very hard race, you got some sort a little plaque or whatever. And I don't know what the course record. The course record at the time was at 21:30, and I was like, if I have an amazing day, I could be close to 22-ish hours. But the goal was 24. That was the big goal. And take a step back too. The other reason why I wanted to do this race was it is, I think, probably the second hardest 100-miler on the East Coast at Mountainous 100. I think I had done a lot of research. Obviously, there's lots of Eastern Staces up there, Massanutten. There are a lot of harder races, but this one with the vert, I think it had the longest course record time, way longer than Grindstone. And I'm pretty sure Carl Meltzer had said this is, out of all the races he's run, this is probably the hardest one. And he was actually in the race too. Yeah, he was actually in the race too, which is kind of crazy. So anywho, I love Speedgoats. Anywho, Yeah, so that was the other reason. Like I think I like the hard mountain, steep climb, descent, that kind of thing. So that's the other reason why I want to do it. So it was a tougher race. Um, so anyway, we get to the start line, and my plan was I wanted to run the first half smart, or at least like through mile 50, run it fairly conservative, and in the second half try to push the downhills because I was like, I think I'm a good downhill runner. I really want to push these downhills. So that was the plan going into it. And I remember, this is kind of crazy, but I remember, looking into, some of the runners and stuff, and I knew that Kyle Curtin was a very smart runner. He always paced things extremely smart. And I was like, all right, he's going to get out very, very smart. So I'm just gonna maybe hang around with him for a little while. And I'll just like admit this, which is this is hilarious. This is so funny. But I do remember saying to one of my running friends, I was like, if I have a crazy good day out there, my plan, I'm gonna try to hang with Kyle Curtin for the first half, and then on the big decline after mile 50, big descent, I'm gonna try to drop him. And it is so hilarious. I think back at that and I just crack up laughing. Especially I was laughing about it with my mom because she was there. Um, that was my mindset going in, because I think I was through mile 50, I was 30 minutes behind him, and he ran the second half 5 hours faster than I did. So like it was not even close. The total opposite of what yeah, I think it's totally insane that I even thought that in the first place. But hey, you gotta have confidence. Um, and he ran a crazy good race, which we'll talk about. But yeah, that's kind of my mindset going into it. Like I wanted to compete with some of the top guys, and I didn't know. I was like, I think I could probably podium if I get in that 22-hour range, maybe. But who knows? It was my first more runnable race, so I had no idea. So we get out on the start line, and some people just go out ripping, and I'm fairly fit, so I kind of go out harder in the first, climb-ish, first 10, 20 miles. Nothing crazy, like I wasn't really dipping too much into, getting myself too into a hole, but I was going out faster than I wanted to, than my splits. But in the first part of the race, I actually was running with Kyle Curtin for like the first stretch up to the first climb, and we were chatting for a while, and which was kind of cool. And I knew that he had known Christina Fulsick because I think they had raced together. So we kind of like, and she had coached me the year before. So we kind of were chatting a little bit, and he was very, very nice, very cool. Like we didn't say talk too much, but yeah, it was cool. And I remember I did ask him. I was like, hey, give me some advice, man. Just hit me with a little bit of and he just said to me, he said, run the first half smart and run the second half tough. And I remember like running and be like, all right, yeah, perfect. Like that's kind of my plan. That's what I want to do. Like, nice. Like you heard it. You heard it here first. The guy knows what he's doing. Um, Come to find out, I made a modification to that phrase, which I guess we'll just put it in now. He was 100% on the money. On any ultra, run the first half smart and the second half tough. But no, I mean like really, 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 really bleeping tough. That's my addition to the quote. Because in this race, I just got hit like a brick, and it's ultras are always gonna be way tougher than you think. Even like, oh no, I can suffer. Or when it hits me, the pain cave hits me, I'm gonna get through it. No, whatever you're thinking, it's gonna be worse, and you're gonna have to be more mentally strong than even And I think that's why a lot of people love ultras. But yeah, so that's what he said to me there. And yeah, honestly, he started out running the race really good, like really smart. We were probably started out maybe like around 10, maybe around like 15 to 10 in there for the first little like flatter section. And then up the first big climb, towards the top of the climb, I think we were probably like 7, 8, 8, 9 or something like that. And there were people moving, but on that first big climb, I had passed a few people, and he took off in front of me, and I eventually caught up to him, but I had passed a few other people. So usually in these ultras, I feel like a lot of people just go super hard from the beginning, like really, really hard, and everyone's fitness varies and stuff. But Yeah, I would say especially the first climb or the first whatever of your ultra, if you can be passing people, that is a good sign because no one's that far ahead and it's just going to give you momentum. You're like, all right, I'm doing good. So that's how the first climb went. And then the first descent after that, what do I remember for the first descent? I mean, it was dark. So the first like few hours you were in darkness, but it started to light up. And I had never even seen these trails before. Or the day before, did I take a walk on a trail? I don't even know if I did. I had never seen the trails before. And I just remember when it got light, the trails were very, very cool out there. Like I said, they were less technical, more runny, but I mean, it was May and things were super green, super kind of bloomy. It looked a little bit different from here. I mean, like if anyone has been down in the Carolinas or wherever, you probably know what I'm talking about, or down south hiking more. But the trails were very, very cool. It was a different feel than up here. It was really thick and really green, but it was a nice place to run. And yeah, in the when it started daytime, after the first big climb, you kind of go down a big descent, and I for sure was going pretty pretty fast. I actually think that people were running faster than me on the descents, and I was climbing faster than the people around me, which was exactly backwards to how I thought it would be, which was very interesting. And I think really just come down to I wasn't and am not as good at running low grade descents as I am steep descents. And so, like, I remember on one of the first descents, that guy, Jake Moreau, he comes ripping down the trail out of nowhere, like going so fast. He had full headphones in already. And I was like, this guy is, I mean, in my head, I was like, this guy's got to blow up, right? Like, he just is sprinting down this descent. But he ended up, didn't blow up. But, yeah, so people were moving fast on the descents, and I think I got tricked into moving a little bit faster on this descents than I wanted to. And so I think, like, on some of the faster, it was just so smooth and fast. Like, I dropped like a few miles in the seven somethings, which on the downhill is not overworking me aerobically at all. Like, it was definitely like zone one, probably zone one. It wasn't super hot, um, but it's just a lot of impact on your legs. And if you're going to run that speed at the beginning of an ultra, you better be running at least 10-minute miles at the end. Because if you're not doing 10-minute miles at the end, you got no business going 8 minutes, 7-minute downhills at the beginning. Even if you're fit enough to do it, it just is going to destroy your legs more than it's going to help you if you really can't sustain it. And so, if anything, you got to start slower and end. If you can be ending on 8-minute miles, that is like you probably ran really, really close to your potential. So that was definitely not great. But I remember ran some of those 730s, and the field had kind of like the people around me had kind of taken off in front. And so I was probably, I don't know, 8-7 or something like that still. And I was just amazed. Like, I was dropping 7-something miles, and all these people started ahead of me. I was like, dang, okay, well, they're getting after it. But there was an aid station that was a turnaround. I forget what mile in it was. But at that aid station, I remember hearing the people at the aid station, and I see running towards me, because it was a quick little out and back, was Kyle Curtin. So he was only a couple minutes ahead of me, which I was like, okay, perfect. Like, you're not, don't worry, people are not. This is the thing in ultras. People disappear on the trails, and in your head it's like, oh man, this is going a little bit harder than I thought, I'm going slower than I thought, these people are miles ahead of me. But in reality, usually they're not. Usually they're just going a little bit faster. Obviously sometimes they are, but that was a good, like, all right, you're good, you don't have to, like, you're just settle in where you are. So settled in that next climb, and it was starting to get hot out. It was a hotter day, and I think the beginning of the day was going to be hotter, and then there was rain and cold at night. So I knew, like, I don't know if I got ice there, but was just trying to be conscious about dipping your hat in water, staying cool, drinking enough. But that next climb was a beast of a climb. It was something kind of like something similar you'd see around here without rocks. It was very steep. It was a 20+% grade for 1,000 feet or something like that, which I think I had known that was a very steep part. And it wasn't like I was unprepared. Like, I'm on these trails all the time, but was going up that and thinking it's steep and it's hot out here. And this is when a fellow comes up behind me, Sondre Stier Thornbergson. And I think, yeah, he was from Norway or something. He was from some of the a country from Europe, and he come over and he comes up behind me and we start chatting and kind of hit it off a little bit, or at least like we got into a good conversation right away. You know, saying where I'm from, where he's from, whatever. I think I cracked a couple jokes, like some of the kind of cheesy jokes or like stupid jokes that I tell hit, which is like for me is like gold. So I said couple of jokes that hit. He was laughing. It was good, and I could tell this dude was fit. He was really fit, but he had just started at the back. And I remember he had said to me, "Oh, what place do you think we're in?" And I was like, He was like, "What do you think? We're like 40th or something, 40th or 50th?" And I turned around and was like, "What?" And he was like, "What place do you think we're in?" I was like, "Dude, we're like in 7th place or 6th and 7th place." It was like something like that. And he was like, "Oh, wow. I didn't even know. There were so many people at the start line. I just kind of started running." I'm like, "Okay, dude, that is I don't even know how his brain like could have thought that, but because there was only maybe like 150 max, maybe 125 who started the race. So I don't know what that dude was on, but I was like, dude, we're in 6th place right now. He's like, oh, wow, cool. And so we chatted for a while. And then one of the things was we went over Rattlesnake Rock or whatever it was. And I remember telling him, I knew he was going to pass me. Like he was doing a little bit better than I was, felt fresher, even though he was like, oh, wow, that first ascent really kind of was tough on the legs, which I'll get back to hopefully. At one point I was like, yeah, you go first, and stuck with him for a while. And then eventually kind of took off ahead of me. But I remember saying like, yeah, I'm really just glad you're here because, you go over Rattlesnake Rock first. And then, I'm just going to hop over you once the snake gets you, which I think he thought was funny. And then, no, eventually we get on top of this climb and he goes off and I don't see him. And that was like a nice little encounter or whatever. Didn't think much about it. Or I did, it was a nice to run with someone like that. Like you always, when you have good conversation, but that was like, okay, cool. He was a cool guy. From there, I get to an aid station at the end of that big climb, and I think we had another descent before climbing up Mount Mitchell, which is the highest peak east of the Mississippi, which the race goes over. That's the middle climb. And before the descent, that next descent, I caught up to this guy. His name was Micah Bauer, I'm pretty sure. He was another person. I think he's an all-American marathoner. He was like a 220-something marathoner. He literally runs 90 or 100 miles, 110 miles every single week. Go look at his Strava. I remember looking and being like, what is this guy is insane. He's just doing walks and bikes and all this stuff all day, doing insane mileage, running super fast every day. And he had done like maybe like a PCT hike or some sort of hike but anyway, but he was like an all-American marathoner, so crazy good fitness. But caught up to him at mile 30th or something, which I thought was interesting because in my head, I'm like, all right, this person is definitely working a lot less than I am, but I didn't know his mountain experience, trail experience, or whatever, but I caught up to him, and he was kind of like struggling a little bit, which he ended up finishing the race in just kind of baller fashion. But remember, caught up to him. I don't think I chatted with him. I think I just kind of passed, and then the descent came, went down to that descent, and I remember being so hot down that descent. No water. It was really hot and humid down there, even though it was like in the 80s maybe, and it was gonna get cooler. It felt just really hot and humid as you get into the valleys, because you're going plus or minus 4,000 feet. So there are big temperature differences, just like there are up here. So I was getting down lower and I was getting hotter and like, oh man, kind of feeling a little bit, not headachy, but woozy. But get down to that descent, and there's like a big aid station. That was the first crew spot that I saw my mom. So I don't know if we did a shoe change but I definitely got an ice bandana. I kind of got refueled, new whatever, anything I needed. And then we were going climbing up Mount Mitchell. And I actually felt like this was kind of the turning point. So I don't know what place I was in, maybe somewhere 6 to 8. But, oh yeah, I think I had climbed up to 6. Yeah, I think I had climbed up to 6 is what it was, going up this climb. And I felt like I'd only been passing people, which is like perfect. It's going good. And going up this climb, I was feeling pretty good, feeling better and better, and thinking like, all right, this is like how, like, good, this is going to go good. So I climbed up, and I think that climb, I didn't see anyone for pretty much the whole climb, all solo. Cool climb, like very low grade, a little bit technical on the Mount Mitchell, but like nothing around here. And when I got close to the top, I ended up passing or seeing the 5th place guy, who was, I think it was Sean Pope. Yeah, it was Sean Pope, who was a local guy, strong runner, and got up to the top, tag Mount Mitchell, which it has this big, it's kind of like a Washington, like obviously because it's such a big peak. I'm sure lots of people know it, but it had like a big, almost like you drive a car up like a big driveway, but I don't think cars go up there. Maybe they do, but it was like this big kind of curvy place up to the top. You touch the summit and then you went back down to the aid station. And from there, I think, yeah, that Sean Pope guy was going out of the aid station when I was coming in. I saw my mom again, actually. She made it up to that aid station, got my stuff, and was out of there. Like, I was such in race mode. There's a couple pictures of, like, chips in my mouth and me just, like, I need my stuff, and then I'm going. So I was in race mode. Going down that next descent, there was a few miles of actually some decently technical stuff, which I had known about. And again, here I had caught up to that Sean Pope guy on the descent. And every time it got rocky technical, I would catch up to him on the descent. And then when it got smoothed out, he would just kind of like take off. And he had said, and we had kind of chatted for a while. I told him I was from New Hampshire. And he said, oh, I've been up there before. I really like the mountains up there. So we were chatting for a good while. But I remember he had said, like, after a couple times of catching up to you, he was like, damn, you can run on rocks or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I wish the whole course was like this. But then when it smoothed out, he would just take off. So me and him are kind of doing a little leapfrogging. Like, I think he was in 5th. So between 5th and 6th, 5th and 6th. And pretty much ended that descent. He was a little bit ahead of me. And this is when a rainstorm came in and everything went wrong for me. So I got down and I got to the aid station. My mom was there again, so it was another crude aid station. And I don't think Sean was there, but I knew it. Sean and Kyle had just recently, in the last maybe half hour, had gotten out of there. So I knew it was close. And I think my mom or someone had made a comment that Sean was saying, oh, you were catching up to him on all the descents. He was faster on the descents. And so I was like, that's how it's been going. That was the opposite of what I thought, but that's how it's been going. So I kind of fueled up. And at the aid station, it started downpouring. And I was like, in my head, I was like, perfect. I'm a cold weather runner. We're about to climb. Let's go. Like, I love the gnarly weather. Let's go. I'm going to go catch this guy. And so get fueled up, take off. And I think the aid station people were like, oh, I don't know if you want to wait a little bit, because it was like just sheets of rain. I was like, I'm in a race, people. I'm in a race. I'm out of here. So I took off. And this next climb, I kind of started maybe pushing a little bit, but just going. And out of nowhere, man, just energy, everything kind of just sucked out of me. Basically started bonking. It didn't feel like I just was moving slow. It wasn't, sometimes when you bonk, you know that you're in a calorie deficit, but I didn't really feel in a calorie deficit. I just couldn't move fast. And so that climb ended up being a slog. And I only had 2 big climbs left. So it was like, you just got to get up 2 big climbs and then you can breeze your way out. And I started dogging it. And at the end of the climb, it flattens out for like a couple miles before the aid station. And I couldn't even run at the top of it. I was down bad. My legs were just killing me. I had no energy that I didn't even realize. I couldn't even run. And literally in my head, I remember thinking, so we're at mile 60 now. I was thinking, I may have to walk for 40 straight miles. Because for a mile, I had flat stuff and I couldn't run it. Could not run it. And I was on sub 24 pace up until mile 60. And then slowly I'm just getting behind. Like a couple miles go by. I'm like, wow, this is like something that I thought I'd be running 11-minute miles on. And was walking 18s or something, bad. B-A-D, bad. And so I walk into this aid station. I put on all my layers because now I'm getting cold, because now it's getting dark. I'm wet. It rained, and now I'm not moving at all. So I'm getting colder. And these are mountains. I remember thinking, dang, this is kind of, I'm freezing. I can't move. This is not what you want to be like in the mountains. And get to this next aid station. I'm like, guys, I'm cooked. I may need to, my legs are just destroyed. I don't know what happened. It hit me so fast. And they're like, oh, just kind of, you're doing good or whatever. And subconsciously, without knowing, I pretty much scrapped my like more in gels, all these things, and I was just like, I may have to walk this thing in. Like I'm done. And I know this happened fast, but this is actually what it felt like in the race. It happened just out of a blue. Like, how can I just be done? Like, I got nothing. Part of me is like, do I want to walk for 40 miles? And so I was like, I'm out on the gels and stuff. Like, I might just eat whatever I want. So they had a little avocado toast. I was like, yeah, let me see that toast. Ate the toast. And it like quick. And they're like, oh, I can make another one. I was like, man, if you want. And then I saw these fudge stripe cookies that I used to love fudge stripe cookies. I was like, oh, I'm going to take a couple of these. And then I had some oranges because I always have an orange and a banana. And then I was like, I'm going to take a couple more cookies. I was loving these cookies. So I'm like eating all this food. And then this person goes, do you want this piece of toast? I was like, I'll take that toast to go. And they were like, okay. I remember this one guy who I'll talk about at the end, but he said to me, he's like, dude, you're good. You just need to eat. Like, you just ate so much more. You look as good as the other guys. Like, you just need to eat, dude. I think you're going to finish 6 or something like that or whatever I was in. Because I told him, I was like, I got to walk the rest of the way. I'm done. And it's like, I don't know what this guy was talking about. But so I ended up going, because at this point, I'm maybe in like 7th or 8th. Like I think one or two, maybe just one person had passed me. No, 2 people had passed me. And I was like, wow, I can't believe 2 people had passed me. For the last hour, I've just been twiddling my thumbs out here, and no one's caught up to me. It's going to start happening soon for sure. But I kept going. And then this one guy, one person had passed me, and then one guy had come up, he passed me. And something in my head kind of like lit a fire, and I started running again on this downhill, like trying to, and it really hurt my legs. Like the biggest thing, my legs were really hurting. Like that was one of the big things that happened kind of fast. And then I start running, and I think with the food, you start running a little bit of adrenaline. I'm running fast again. And I'm like, oh my God. And I caught up to the guy ahead of me, and he must have been like, oh, I just passed this guy. And he was walking and saying like, I got to walk it in. Now he's just running. And we ran 10-minute miles out for a few miles together. And it was actually kind of like a little bit of a camaraderie. I think we both kind of like picked each other up a little bit. His name was Chase Price. And he had ran a couple of fast flatter races. So he was a strong runner, but like a bigger kind of like athletic, super strong guy. And so I ran with him for a while. I was like, and I was just all of a sudden back. And in my head, obviously looking back, I was just calorie deficient, or I needed more calories. I needed more food. And then the other thing I think was happening was I was tired and I wasn't eating enough, and I couldn't diagnose that was what was going on. Like, because your legs, you run 60 miles, they're gonna hurt. Like, no crap. But I didn't process, like, you just need to eat, probably take some caffeine. They gave me a couple caffeine pills at the thing, and just be tough. Be tougher than, you know what I mean? Tougher than what Kyle Curtin. Be tough. No, like really, 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 really freaking tough. That's what you have to do in the back half of these races. So that's what I kind of started doing. And I ran with him, and then we had a 6-mile descent. And I remember my legs were in a lot of pain, and I was like, you are going to run every step of this. It was like a gravelly road, because I had seen, this was before an aid station. So I run with him, we get an aid station. And then there's another aid station a few miles where I see my mom before this gravelly 6-mile road. And on this was still a different gravelly road that I was on before the one I just said. But on that road, there were some people camping out there, and I was pumped. My energy was back. I actually passed Chase for a little bit. He was back at the aid station. I had passed him. So I don't know what place I was in, but I was running, I was feeling good, and there were some people in a campfire, and they were drinking. Like, they were kind of hooting and hollering, like, doing their thing. And as I ran by, they're like, yeah, woo, because they must have been cheering people on. And I remember I literally yelled at them. I was like, let's go, I'm back, woo! Like, just, like, howling, doing whatever, and they loved it because they were just, like, wasted or whatever. So and I'm like, oh, my God, like, adrenaline pumping. Like, I was back. I was dead, and now I'm back. 0 to 100 so fast. I just needed some food. And I ran that to the next aid station, saw my mom, and I think I'd fallen so far behind on the tracker by an hour or two. I said, I had some whatever, but I'm feeling good now, I'm back. And she's like, okay. Got my stuff and head out, and I'm good. And so, like I said, the 6-mile gravelly road. This is where I kind of started feeling like it was hurting again. It was painful, but I was like, no, this is what you said. You felt the pain cave. And Jigger Johnson 100, first time I was ever in the pain cave. And I remember saying, next time I get in the pain cave, I'm gonna be tough. Because now I know what it feels like and I can endure, but I want to try to be tough. And on that 6-mile gravelly road, I said to myself, you're gonna run every step. It hurts a lot, you're gonna run every step. And I did. And I think that was a big win for me kind of mentally, because I think I definitely was being tougher. Even though I had that blip, I was being tougher than I had been in the past, like pushing through, really, really pushing myself 1 mile at a time, just head down. And shortly after that descent, my kind of toughness ran out a little bit, which basically, toughness is a skill. It's a muscle. You have to work it. And you know when Courtney Dauwalter says chipping away at the pain cave? I think that analogy, I totally get it now. Each time you do something really hard, you can be a little bit tougher and grit a little bit more. But it's not something that you can just lights on, I'm going to see red and be, oh, I got the mindset. I've been doing meditate, all this stuff. Once I get there, I'm going to just face it on. Nope. It's like you'll do a little bit better than last time. And then the next time, hopefully do a little bit better. And it's like building a capacity, growing a muscle for enduring like that. I think it's not a flip, and you have to learn it and acquire it over time. And that's a big lesson that I did learn. So I was proud that I'd grinded a little bit more, but it wasn't like I could just flip the switch and grind for 30 miles, because when you're in so much pain, it's hard to do it for 30 miles. You run a mile and you're like, wow, I got to do it 29 times. That took all I had. And so it's just a muscle you got to work. So that's what I learned there. And it hit me. And so basically I had 20 miles left and I canned it in. On the last climb, one of my knees, like one of the tendons in my knees, like really flared up and really, really hurt, which I wasn't really expecting on a climb, which really slowed me down. And I was hitting kind of a wall again. Like I think I was just behind on calories. And I was tired. Like I think being tired definitely played into it. And I did this whole race with no pacer. So I had seen a few people, but I had no pacer to like lift up the spirits, take care of me, guide me, literally just tell me to eat and drink a little bit more, take some caffeine or whatever. And so I just kind of like collapsed from there. I finally made it to the last of the last climb, and I hit an aid station there. And this is another thing that I learned. In an ultra, late at night, if it's cold, especially when you're starting to like bomb or like not do good, you are not going to stay warm. And if your legs get really cold, when you stop at an aid station and they're in pain and they get cold, you lock up. It's going to take a long time for them to warm up and like feel good again. So I stayed in an aid station, ate some food, like maybe 5-10 minutes. And it took me 20 minutes for my legs to warm up. Like, I'm like, oh my God, my legs were just toast after coming out of it because they were cold, locked up. And so in any aid station, when it's cold, when you don't, like, I was in shorts, like probably a lot of people put pants on, but if you're underdressed, you have to keep moving. Because if I just grabbed food, grabbed drink, and kept moving, my legs would have never shut off. They would have been fine. And I probably would have not had the 5 or 10 minutes at the aid station. And then I wouldn't have had the 5 or 10 minutes, like trying to like wake them back up on the descent. So that's another piece of a tip. If you're getting cold, you got to make sure you stay warm and stay moving, because it's going to double cost you time getting warmed up again. And then on the way out, I get to the end of this last descent, and there's like an 6-mile road run out, and you're at mile 98 or 96 or whatever, and I'm out of it. I'm just like, I need to get to the finish. I'm so done. This is insane. I get to the end, I'm like, I have 6 miles. Like, that could be 2 hours. Like, I was in the depths of it. Some people had caught up to me at that final aid station. I think like 2 people. So I was now I was kind of clinging to 6th, 7th, like, but then I dropped, and then whoever passed me at the last 2 people passed me, and I was in 9th. And part of me was like, I might just walk this. Like, I was in so much pain. I was so done. I was so defeated. And yeah, honestly, I ended up running the last couple miles in that were super painful, and I made it to the end. But the end, completely cratered, underfed, under toughness. I mean, just like I got my teeth kicked in, and I ended up finishing in 26:30, which is still a great time. I finished in 9th place overall, top 10. It was close to 24 hours. With all the adversity I faced, no pacer, no sleep, all the pain, I made it. I got the buckle. Like, I was very much happy with that time. Like, I thought I was going to have to walk for 40 miles. I didn't. I threw down 20 good miles out of that last 40. But yeah, that just, I mean, it taught me a lot of lessons, and I got absolutely beat up in that race. And so I think, yeah, the learning lessons, like I said, getting sleep is important, at least one REM cycle. Having a pacer is in 100 is going to help you with just keeping your stuff together at the end, and a little bit of motivation. Eating enough food, drinking caffeine and food. If you're feeling crappy, bonky, your legs hurt, caffeine and food can help a ton. Like, that is like the main thing. Get caffeine and food in, stay warm, and be really, 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 really freaking tough. Don't be tough. Be really, 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 really tough. And I mean that. Some people probably laugh as I said that 4 times, but it's the truth. Like, it always hurts way more, because humans are not supposed to run for 100 straight miles. That, I think, is what amazes me about these ultras, like the top athletes, the Courtney Dauwalters, all these top people. They feel the same pain that you feel, because human bodies are not meant to do this stuff. And the people that are pushing the limits and consistently do it, they are just obviously fitter and more trained than you, but they are just way tougher than you. And they feel the same things. Their legs are made of muscles and tendons and just like yours. You're just a little soft tissue blob human. They are the same thing, and they feel the same pain, but they just push through it. And so those are all the lessons learned in the recap. And to recap the race, so I get down to the end of the race, a few things I want to circle back on. One, that aid station volunteer at the 60-mile aid station, he was there at the finish line. And I think he kind of congratulated me. He definitely remembered who I was. I didn't finish like the 6th or 7th that he said I would, but I finished 9th, like still a lot better than I thought I was going to. And I wish I could tell him, maybe one day if I go to the race again, he might be there. But I don't know. Like, at the end of these races, you're kind of, your brain's mashed potatoes. You don't know. I wish I could tell him how valuable he saved my race. I appreciated it so much. Thank you. Like, you meant the world to me. Like, you saved. I wish I could just tell him that, because he really did. And I saw him at the end. I definitely said thanks or whatever. I remembered him or whatever, but he didn't probably understand how much he did help me. So shout out to that aid station volunteer. There's probably millions of stories like that of aid stations volunteer just like saving people's races. So that's always cool. So that was the end of the race. I remember I sat down next to a heater. My body was freezing. And in like 20 minutes, I turned to my mom. I was like, I need to get out of here. My body's about to shut down. I haven't slept in 2.5 days. I'm freezing. I'm distraught. I can't even I need to get out of here now. And I think she realized, like, oh, he is messed up. But so that was the end of the race. And so to recap that year, so I get to the end, and apparently my boy, Sondre Stier Thornbergson, finishes course record. So the course record was like 21:30. He runs 20 hours, 0 minutes, and 44 seconds. He beats Kyle Curtin by 5 minutes and 32 seconds. So a photo finish at the end of this race here, which was super cool. I remember hearing that, being like, Sondre, let's go, dude. My guy. So that was super cool. And he was a robot out there. In the if you looked at his Strava or whatever, and in Kyle's write-up, they basically were neck and neck for that last 6-mile road stretch, and Sondre finished it out with like a 6:40, 6:40, 6:30. Unbelievable to run 104 miles, 24,000 feet of game, and finish with a 21-minute 5K. Obliterates the course record, beats Kyle Curtin, a pro. And I remember what he said to me on the climb. I should have said this earlier, but he said, yeah, I really want to finish it. I want to make it hurt. Those are his 2 goals for the race when he thought he was in 50th place. Well, he came back and ran the course record. An amazing run. That run is just so, so impressive. And obviously Kyle's was too, but He couldn't catch up. And I think in Kyle Curtin's recap, he said, I was working well with my pacer. We could see his light in front of us at times. Like I really thought I was gonna catch him. I gave all I had. I was running 7:30s, but this guy ended with freaking 6:30s. So that was cool. So they had just a slugfest out there. And then third place was that guy Marcus Welker. He ran a 21:32, which I don't know if that's the third fastest or fourth fastest time, but he had a really, really strong time. And then there were 3 people who were under the 24-hour mark. Sean Pope, Jake Morrow, Randy Elliott. Those were all people that I think if I had just eaten more and been tougher, I would, or just had a pacer like any of those 3, all of those 3, I would have been in the mix with. But they ran better. And then there was Chase Price, William Connell, and me. We ended in 26:13, 26:16, 26:30. So those are the 2 people right at the end. And then 10th place, 25 minutes behind me was Meg Landymore. So that was that race. And again, I think this is like learning lessons. If everything went right, I think I definitely could have got sub 24 at that race, been more competitive. But and these things are like little things during the race that I could have done differently, but I didn't. I think one of my pet peeves is when people do races and then like every ultra you just see a list of why people didn't do as good as they want, like in the recap, which here are my thoughts. I'm not saying like, so obviously I just talked about all the things I could have done better, but that day I did not have the skill set or the capacity to run what I'm saying like my potential was. I just didn't have the skill set. Like everyone's like, oh, I could have done better, I should have done better if this happened, but I just didn't have the skill set, or that day I just didn't have what it takes to hit those times. So things that I could have improved, these are things that I could improve for next time. If I did them better, it would have led to better results, but I didn't in the time. Like I just didn't have the skill set. And it's all kind of like learning. So yeah, in like Strava write-ups, if your race goes bad, talk at least about the good things too. Because every ultra, things go wrong like that. This is what ultras are. It's problem solving. It's getting through. Like nobody just goes out there and 100 miles just skips and feels great and no stomach or whatever. You're always going to face things. So instead of just blaming these things for happening, it's like you just didn't have the skill set to handle those things in the moment, which is cool. That's like everybody. You just have to learn from. But it's not no pity parties after these ultras. If stuff happens, deal with the best you can, try to finish, and that's all you can do. So that was the race there. That was the Hellbender recap, which, yeah, I definitely want to go to that race again. It's a very cool race. But I have some other things first. But I would definitely recommend it. And when I was down there, I was like, I could live in Winters, Nashville. It's nice down here. I like it. But that was the Hellbender recap. All right, so we got 2 quick things to end this off. So the first, we're going to go through the TARC Yeti Trail Trot 50K results. First ultra of the year. So, like I said at the beginning, this was the Gills Athletic Club Fat Ass 50K. In November, give you a little bit of background. November 20th, 2025. This is from Mass Ultra, the blog. This is the race director of the Gills Athletic Club Fat Ass 50K. After 25 years of kicking off the ultra running new year in New England, the Gills Athletic Club is hanging up its sneakers, so to speak. In a post to the club's website, race director Roger Martell announced that the GAC Fat Ass 50K will not return in 2026. All good things must come to an end, Martell wrote. After 25 years, the run has its last loop. Thanks to all the runners who have come. Dave, come over and run over the years, etc. So that was kind of no longer. That's it. And I haven't been to the race, don't know much about this race, but it sounds like it's a long-standing tradition kicking off the ultra running year. But then on December 26th, Mass Blog writes, a New England Trail and Ultra Running Classic event will return in 2026 after all. Barely a month after the Gills Athletic Club announced that its popular GAC Fat Ass 50K, how many times am I going to say GAC Fat Ass 50K, would not return following a 25-year run, the region's official kickoff to the new trail and ultra running season. Now the event has been revived by the Trail Animals Running Club. In an announcement to the TARC Facebook page, Patrick Karen shared the news. We're excited to take over. It is now going to go by the name of TARC Yeti Trail Trot. So cool. So a race kind of dies and TARC steps in. They have a bunch of cool races and they take it over. So it relives. And so that was the first race of the year. And so they ran it this year. So there was obviously this race before. This was kind of the first year as the Yeti Trot 50K, but it's been run before as the Fat Ass 50K. And the event it's a marathon and a 50K it's like undulating trail. So I think the 50K had about 2,300 feet of vert. There are 10K loops, and participants can do 1 to 5 10K loops. And what's cool about this? Totally free. Totally a free event, which is awesome. And I think the goal, I think they said too, like the goal of this event, it's kind of loosely goes through results, but it's kind of it's a semi-official timing, laid back, family reunion style atmosphere. Anyone can come for free, do as many loops, do your thing. So really cool event. And the course records at the event, the male record, 2019, Patrick Karen. He runs a 3:23 for the 50K. And then female, no shockers there. And then the female 50K record, Leela Godralt, running last year, 2024, 2 years ago. She ran 3:51. So those are the course records for the 50K. And obviously, when you have a winter ultra, conditions can be all over the place. Conditions were extremely icy this year from what it sounds like with all this freeze melt, whatever. And so it was a skating rink out there, to say the least. But we'll go through the top 3 times from the 50K and the marathon. So top 3 men in the 50K. First overall, Tom Hanlon. He runs a 3:40. That is a 6:59 minute pace on ice for 50K on trails. I don't know Tom Hanlon. I got to look up Tom Hanlon. That is extremely fast. Second place person was Jonathan Western. He ran a 4:20. So Tom finishes 40 minutes before John, who I know is a fast marathoner. I think he ran Jigger Johnson with me that first year. I think he DNF'd, but he came in second. And Tom beats him by 40 minutes. Does anyone know if Tom Hanlon was on ice skates out there? This guy might have been skating around because he put the beat down out there. But he runs 3:40, John runs 4:20, and then Joshua McGill runs a 4:49 to finish out the podium there. And then the top 3 women, Jennifer Boschko, she ran 5 hours, 28 seconds. She almost slipped someone to the 5-hour mark, but still very, very impressive. Second place, Mika Sawada, 5:05. And then third place, Charlotte Kelly, 5:29. So those are the 50K results. And then the marathon results. Top 3 men. First off, Todd Callahan. He runs a 3:37. Gregory Lowe runs a 4:26 in second. And then Sasha McGurran runs a 4:56 for third. So that was the top 3 men's. And again, Todd wins by almost 50 minutes. So, I mean, Todd and Tom, they went in there with ice skates and were just like, hey, God, this would be fun. We'll only use them when no one's around. No, I'm just totally kidding. And then top 3 women. First was Rebecca Hill, 5:40. Second, Lori Wetzel, Rebecca Hill, 5:40.18, first place. Second place, Lori Wetzel, 5:40.18. They tied. But I guess Rebecca Hill also won. Maybe she edged out a little bit. But sounds like 2 people came into the finish at the end together, and maybe Lori let Rebecca take the first place overall. Very nice. And then third overall in the marathon was Jennifer Rizzo. She runs a 6:05. And those were the results from the race. So a cool race. It is being continued. It kicks off the New England Ultra Running this year. And I think January 2nd, it said, mark your calendars, 2027. It's going to kick off the year next year. The only other race I wanted to talk about was the Berks Treadmill Marathon and Frozen Folly Virtual 50K. Holy tongue twister. This is, I think it goes for the whole month, but it's basically like a virtual DIY. You can run a marathon, you can run a 50K. You can run a marathon and a 50K. You can run two 50Ks. Register for one race or all three. So it sounds like it is a free-for-all. It's kind of a fun challenge. Okay, so yeah, select any 36-hour period between January 1st and January 31st to log your distance. You have 36 hours to do it, and you can post in the Facebook page, email the race director, cumulative time for those different races. Early registration, $10, so another cheap race. But that is the other race that's currently going on in January that there may be some results from, but we don't have the full slate. So we'll get that at the end of the month. But all right, that was the race results section, and then last thing, top three fruits. So last thing for today. What we got? 106. The top three fruits. This is going to be tough. I actually didn't even prep this at all. I just wrote this on a whim at the end, top three fruits. So this is going to be off the cuff, and hopefully I'm going to talk through some things, but it's going to be very, very tough for me. But okay, hold on. My top three favorite fruit. I think, like I said, I have a lot of fruits that in the summer they hit really, really good, and I would say like, oh, these are my top three favorite fruits when things are good. But in the dog days, in the winter, I think for sure, without a doubt, my number one favorite fruit. I love it when it's good. I love it even in the winter. You still get good ones. You can do regular. You can do frozen. I put it in smoothies. I eat it all every week for a couple baskets every week, every day in my smoothies. The blueberry. The blueberry is my number one fruit. When it hits really good, it's so good. It's a staple. So it's, you know what you're going to get usually. It can be really good, but you know what you're going to get. You can put it in smoothies, diverse. I made a carton of blueberries before my afternoon run. Beautiful. That is my number one fruit. From here, it gets dicey. I think from here, I'm actually going to go with, and this is kind of a more recent development, probably in the last year, my number two favorite fruit. And this is just because we're going to go with hassle too, because some fruits are kind of a hassle to make and eat. But number two, I'm going to go with pineapple. In the winter, you can get, I don't know where you get pineapples from, but in the winter, you can get a good pineapple. In the summer, you get a good pineapple. Can you even get fresh pineapples? I don't know where they grow pineapples, but I can get good ones all year round. And if you get it and you cut it up, you do work. If you get a good pineapple, oh man, I love a good pineapple. And I think I'm going to give it, when it hits really good, it hits good. And I think just the year-round aspect is why it's in my top three. Now, it could be three, depending, because it's a lot of hassle to kind of cut it up. I like to cut it up. If you buy the cut up ones at the store, it's not as good, and you're basically getting robbed. No, I sometimes I get it too, but they're just way more expensive when it's pre-cut, which makes sense because you go to cut them and you're like, God, I hate cutting these things. But pineapple is going to be in there. Now from here, what I'm thinking, there's a few options, and I'm going to throw out some ones that I don't even know what I'm going to put in here. But I think when a strawberry is really, really good, strawberries can be there. But strawberries are kind of inconsistent for me. I feel like I can't get a good strawberry in the winter. I've tried some a good fresh strawberry, though, is so good. So that's what I'm thinking. Watermelon, when you get a good fresh watermelon, whoo, like so good. That one's close. I think that one's probably above strawberry for me, just because I don't know, I feel like I can get more good watermelons, and when it hits really good, I think it's a little bit better as a strawberry for me. It's about, I guess, a cut up strawberry, but watermelon's up there. Another one that people are going to hate, but I'm going to put it in there because I just don't care. Banana is a contender because I eat probably at least 2 bananas every day, sometimes 3, rarely 1, usually 2. Staple, it's cheap, it doesn't knock your socks off, but it shows up. I mean, it is always going to be a solid fruit. Now you got to time it. I mean, I got to get a green bunch, I got to get an in-between bunch, and I got to get a yellow bunch to get a full good week. But a banana is just such a staple. It's never over the top, but it's always there. So do I grant, like, what am I granting here? You know? Do you grant stability or do you grant the upside? It's tough. It's tough because in the winter, it's nice. And then in another category with the banana, I think an apple. I love an apple before bed. I always have apple and eggs before bed. And I love the apple before bed. It doesn't knock your socks off usually. Even the fresh ones I think are really good, but I wouldn't say they like really knocks your socks off. But it's just a staple. You know what you're gonna get. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. When I'm feeling a little bit or a little bit off, I just eat an apple and I just feel like it makes me feel a tiny bit better. There's something about eating an apple that I love eating an apple. But yeah, if I have to pick for the people, it's so difficult. I'm trying to think if there are any other like really outstanding fruits that I want to throw in there. Like melons. Is avocado a fruit? I love avocados, but I think it's in a different category. Am I missing any berries? Am I missing any? I'm probably missing some sort of like. Oh, also pineapple on a pizza. I know Jocelyn loves pineapples on pizzas, and last night we were watching the Stranger Things where that surfer dude is like, "Oh, don't knock it till you try it, man." Yo, my dude, can we use your ice cooler for a bath? My girl here's got superpowers, but we need to put a salt bath in the ice cooler. My dude. I don't hate the. Did I say I hate pineapple on a pizza? I don't hate it. Like, I will eat it, but I don't know if the flavors really add up for me. Like, I really love the pineapple flavor and the pizza flavor, but I don't think it does it for me. But I don't really know if I really go with the full ham Hawaiian style. Anyway, no. So that was my pineapple on pizza. But what am I gonna get back to the fruits? I had pomegranates the other day, which I didn't know what I kind of. It's kind of like that thing where I just kept getting back and eating more of them, but I definitely don't know. It's kind of a weird taste. They would definitely not be in my top 3. I also I don't grapes. I don't know. I honestly mess with raisins. I like grapes in a salad, raisins if I'm just eating a handful. I don't know why. I think a grape just kind of tastes like a weird apple to me. What other fruits are there? This is like when you play like some sort of word association game and it's like name a fruit that has a M and you're like, I don't even know a single fruit that could be in that category. Now, those are my top fruits. I don't know. The other berries are kind of meh. Cherries. Nah. All right. Number three. I'm going to do it. Shout out. Number 3 favorite fruit. I'm going the banana. You know, it comes through for me through thick and thin. It is just always there for me, no matter the season. It's so cheap. It doesn't break the bank. That's another thing too. Actually, it's wicked cheap. I feel bad about the strawberries, the watermelons, the apples. Oh, clementines. Oh, clementines. Clementines. That is actually, it's between, oh no, it might be clementines. Oh no, this is the one I was forgetting. 3 might be clementines. No. Oh, that would be doing banana so dirty. Oh, it might be clementines. I love them. When they hit, they're so good. It might be clementines. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I apologize to the banana. 3rd favorite fruit is clementines. I think sometimes I go in phases. Like, I wouldn't say they're all year round. They're not a staple, but they're pretty staple. And they're so good. They just pack a little punch, and I love getting those hails. Oh, I love getting 2 clementines and going, and they're so juicy, and they can be so good. Yeah, honestly, sorry. I feel bad that I put the banana in there for a little bit and then took it out. Like, that makes me feel bad because, again, like, it's not a wow factor, but that's what I will say. Number 1, blueberries. Number 2, pineapple. Number 3, clementines. Honorable mention, strawberries, watermelons, apples, bananas. That's the fruit countdown. Let me know what you think. And that's how we're going to end the podcast with the fruit countdown. I'm happy with it. Yeah, I think I'm happy with how that went. And this is a good, like, unlike the mac and cheese challenge, this is a good, healthy fruit. We could just eat a bunch of fruit and see really what's best. But yeah, those are my top favorite fruits. That was the Yeti Trail recap, and that was my Hellbender 100 recap. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I really appreciate everybody listening. It's been very cool doing the podcast. I'm really excited for this year. I got more stuff in the works. And I do want to say that I am now officially offering ultra mountain trail running coaching services. So if you go on my website, runmountainpeaks.com, there's just a few things on there related to it, but go check it out. Send me an email at andrew@runmountainpeaks.com if you have any questions, any interest. If you know somebody who's interested in getting a run coach for any of their ultra mountain trail adventures for this year. Like I've said before, I got a run coach when I was getting into it, and it was really helpful just kind of learning how to train, getting the philosophy down, different training types, prepping for different types of events, lots of knowledge, lots of connections and stuff that you can learn from a coach. And I think they can be very beneficial. And I got a lot of information, knowledge, resources, and I want to get you faster. So if you have any interest in coaching, reach out to me. And that's all I got for this week. So we will see you next week. Have a good week. Get after it. Get some miles in. Peace.